before they are hanged. This is a check-in for the final chapters, chapters 40 to 50 of Before They Were Hanged. So, spoilers ahead for this. I'll do probably a standalone review, which I may or may not release because reviewing the middle part of a trilogy is a thankless task. And I might just be doing it for my own amusement. So yes, the last 10 chapters of this middle book. Let's start off with Sandan Gloctor. I've got his name back in my head. Our friendly, torturing investigator, problem man. He gets called. I think I already had the thing of like, oh, his superior was actually thrilled with what he had got accomplished, not knowing that he had gotten a big help by a bank that had given him a shit ton of money for him to be able to pay and hold out. But regardless, his arch lector Salter was pleased with him, and he could actually have a little bit of a rest. And what happens? But he gets woken up in the middle of the night, summoned. It's like, oh great, nothing good happens in the middle of the night, and it turns out that someone has been murdered. And now they had noted when the Crown Prince Rainer, or whatever the fuck his name is, had met his ignominious end, that no one was particularly too concerned because, we have a spare. And actually the spare prince was a kind of more sober, together kind of guy. Like, oh, this is the person that we'd actually like to be king. So everyone was pretty thrilled. Unfortunately, Gloctor comes to the thing and finds the Archlector standing over the dead, very, very murdered body of the new Crown Prince. It's like, motherfucker, this is going to cause a horrible power vacuum. The king is completely senile, completely horrible health. He's going to die any moment. This will cause a complete power vacuum. The inner council is who holds actual power at the moment. But when the king dies, it'll be the more general lords and just general council that will pick who the king is, which means that Arch-Lector Salter, and by implication Sandan Gloctor, are fucked. If that indeed happens, they need to start kissing asses and gaining support. Toot sweet. And the first thing they need to do is find the guilty party, or anybody who's guilty. And they say, we've got this ambassador who is offering a peace. In an earlier scene, we've had him talking to Gloctor about, like, hey, we want to actually have peace. You guys do not want to have two fronts open at the same time. My guy is like, he wants this property. You shouldn't have been down here anyways. Cede it to us. We're all good. And, highly suspicious. But now that the Crown Prince has been murdered, well, what do? They haul this guy in and say, torture him and make him sign a confession. Thing is, Gloctor talks with him and pretty quickly can tell it's not him. He, the corpse had a bit of his robe clutched in his hand. It's like, yeah, that's like so obvious. And they found the goddamn garment hanging in the fucking guy's closet. It's like, if he's an assassin, he's a super, super incompetent one, which is highly doubtful that you would do that for this. It's like he's been framed. And he tries to argue, he tries to kind of bring this up with the Archlector, but the Archlector is like, just fucking get him to confess. We need someone to confess. I do not care about the truth. Just get him to confess. Gets him to confess. They execute him in a horrific manner, and Lecter starts doing some snooping around. It's like, well, where's the guard? It's like, hasn't been seen. Hasn't been seen since the day before the crown prince was murdered. But it's like, but I saw him on the night. It's like, what the hell's going on there? And it starts to investigate. At which point, he gets a visit from the representative of the bank, the Reynard and whatever the hell the name of this super powerful bank is. And they're like, stop your inquiries. It's like, huh? But, well, there's some loose ends. It's like, look, they're not angry with you right now because you didn't know, but stop your inquiries or else. And you can tell that the guy who's giving him the message is like super afraid as well. It's like he's pleading with him more than he's like threatening him. And the collector's like, okay, I will stop my inquiries, because he knows that, like, basically these guys own me. It's like, well, you know, because he asked him, like, well, you're going to reveal that you gave me all this money. It's like, that is the least that they would do. So he's like, yep, they've got me. Okay, so he just I'm going to back off. Now Glockter probably has got other stuff on his stuff that he will do, but that's where we leave that story. Here I'm gonna go with the boys and West, Dogman, Three Tree, and the other northern men. They've come up. The General Burr comes up with a plan of like, okay, they've gotten around us. They're in a stronghold. We're going to send one general who hates the other general up the road to draw him out. We'll have the other general who hates the first general to come around the side and kind of just zap him from the other thing. So they start this, and it's like, oh, and you guys can just go over here and just kind of, it's a safe spot. It's just like, oh god, these safe spots. Dogman and the rest, they can go over there. West is really on the outs at the moment, because he kind of develops feelings towards this girl, that the young woman that he saved from the camp, who he basically killed the crown prince when he found him raping her. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna go see how she is, because I want to declare my love or whatever. Comes up and it's like, oh, she's having sex, very kind of earthy sex, with Dogman. And he's like, ugh. And so he's just like, he's pissed. He's very pissed. And he's like, and it's like, why with him? It's like, well, I didn't want to be with you because you're so angry. And he's like bubbling with rage as he hears this. But he's, kind of, she leaves and he stomps off, and he's like horribly pissed. He's like, he's a good guy, but he's got horrible anger issues. And I can see why any smart woman would take one look at him and go, Dogman, he does not have anger issues. He's a grubby, violent, hardened northernman savage, but he's like, wow, he's a way more together person. But they go off to the side, at which point, yes, the Northern King, he is so good at just springing all his own traps at things. He basically ties down the people that are supposed to kind of come and counterattack on the flank. They're whacking those people. And Dogmen, who they actually pick up some reinforcements themselves. A guy called Shivers starts talking, says like, we want to actually be on your side, because is it Belloc or what it says, I can't remember what the hell his name is. He's doing really nasty stuff. He seems to be teaming up with the Culls, the Flatheads, the kind of weird ape men, which is like, how can you even do that? They're like kind of animals. But he so they actually do kind of thing, and these are all kind of young guys who are like kind of at awe of them. It's like, wow, you guys are like legends. And indeed, it turns out that Logan Nine Fingers killed Shiver's brother, because in an encounter at some point, which doesn't seem to be hard feelings on that. It's just like, yeah, stuff like that happens. But when it comes down to it, they're not in a safe place, and all of these flatheads come roaring through the thing, including a gigantic monster of one. After which, unfortunately, through all this encounter, the girl gets speared through and ends up dying. And in the big battle with a gigantic, kind of giant of a flathead, that's like, these are apparently created creatures, and they've only been like kind of humanoid size, I get the sense, but this guy is like a giant, and it takes the combined might of all of the kind of the crew to take him down, and Three Tree is killed in the process, is brutally smushed, and they only just basically drive off this giant through the forest. So they end up, the final scene of them is they're burying Three Tree. They bury the girl, and it's like, okay, well, who's going to lead us now? It's like, dude, why are you saying that now? It's like, oh, we need to figure it out now. And it's like, basically the two big tough guys in the crew are like, well, we wouldn't follow each other, so it's like, we decided it's you, Dogman. And Dogman's like, what, me? I no, what, me? No. He's like kind of the sidekick, kind of scrappy, good scout guy. And it's funny because Shivers goes like, yeah, we thought it would be Dogman too. And I think he's just like, he's a legend. He's somebody who's been with the Bloody Nine and all the other kind of big battles. And it's like, you've learned all this stuff, guys. You know this stuff. And he's like, me? Still kind of like at the end, me? So that's where we're left with them. Now the final one, which I guess is the big fantasy quest, is they end up. This is Baylor, Logan Nine Fingers, Giselle, Bigfoot, or whatever the fuck the name, Proudfoot, or whatever the name of the thing, and Pharaoh. They take a boat to this stone island. This is the very edge of the thing, and like the sailors who take them there, it's like, we're not going on shore. It's got bad feeling to it, and it's all rocks, and it's like, they're like, what? Why the fuck are we here? It's like, because a wise man hides rocks in a million rocks, and they go there, and this is where Logan kind of earns his thing. It's like he talks to spirits. So Baylor gives him some alcohol. He spits it out into the air over the fire and says like, well, we might have to wait for, and the spirit immediately is there, and it's a woman. It's like, yeah. And it's like, the big magus, I can't remember what the hell his name is has given her the rock to hold in keeping. And so it's like, get Pharaoh to hold her hands out because it's so deadly that she's the only one who can actually touch it. And they drop it into her hand, and it's a rock. It is just a rock. It is not the thing. Baylor has been tricked. That it's somewhere else, and they do not have the rock. They do not have the great weapon that they were going to use to fucking fight the Prophet and the Dead Eaters. They are screwed. And Jessic's like, you mean I came all this fucking way? I lost all my good looks. I lost my chance to fight for my country for nothing? And Pharaoh's like, you fucking, you lied to us, Baylor. You fucking lied to us. This has got like, all this. And Baylor is like, he is the most incandescent of fury, of like being fucked by some old mage in the past. Yeah. It's just like incandescently angry. So it's completely ended in complete failure. and he is so pissed that, you know, he storms off to the boat, and everyone else is like, for a moment there, they thought, maybe I can you'll just stay on the island. This horrible, horrible island. It's like, no, okay, they follow back and they go in the thing. But yeah, it's just complete failure, which is awesome. It's a very dark nadir point to leave them. And we have a scene between Logan Ninefingers and Pharaoh, who have been continuing to sleep with each other. But now it's like, well, Pharaoh's like, I need to go and get revenge, even though she thinks to herself she could have very easily have just said, I'll go with you. I'll just do whatever you're going. But she can't say that. And he's like, well, I need to go back to the north and settle scores. And it's like, and she's like, this is coming from the guy who said I should give up revenge. And he's doing settle scores. What the hell's that about? And that's it. That ends them, apparently. That ends their relationship, which probably didn't have that long of a thing. Just like Pharaoh is just too angry, and Logan is just too kind of, well, he's grunty, but he's grunty in his own way. He's got his own rage monster in there, which, you know, I mean, she'd be fast enough to dodge him when he gets into that state. So yeah, that is Before They Were Hanged. It kind of leaves everything. It does leave everything hanging, but it does actually feel fairly satisfying, I think, as a tale. I mean, it's definitely the midpoint of a tale. It's taken us from point A to the next point. We're gonna leading into point C there, with this being point B, I guess. God, that's incisive literary judgment there. Yeah. It's a really good. You know, you can't wait for Logan to actually maybe meet up with his crew again, with Dogman and the bunch. You know, God, Giselle might be slightly better of a human being when he gets back with West. I think Aerie and Glocktor, I don't know. Glocktor doesn't seem to be somebody who could actually be with anybody else. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I don't know. I actually care about all these characters, I guess, which is good. Yeah, it's a fun, rousing tale with a lot of grimdark. Oh, and grimacing versus grimacing. What the fuck's up with that? Grimacing. They say that a lot, and in a grimdark fantasy, I think that should matter. Is it grimacing or grimacing? Inquiring minds want to know. That's just the audio book reader is definitely always says grimacing, and it's just something that sticks out to me a lot. But probably isn't a noteworthy thing for review. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Very much enjoyed. We'll try and do a kind of a little bit of a review video and go from there. Okay, more videos later.